So, I am Margaret Williams. I help women who have been marginalized elevate their voices, stop surviving power systems, and start leading with freedom, influence, and authority. Who wouldn't want that, right?
That's so brilliant. You've articulated that so well. You've crafted that to perfection, I think. Well done and getting that down pat. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, because it's important to know, be able to say it in one words,
Yeah.
who you serve. So everybody knows it's very clear. That's not to exclude anyone, okay? Not at
Mm.
all. It just helps to define who our target market is. And you being a expert in digital strategy, okay, and a marketing expert,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's key,
Yeah.
right?
It's so important to get that precisely right. And so whenever in my, I don't know if we've started or we're having a chat, but that's fine. It's whenever you whenever you really get specific and clear on your ideal audience and who you want to serve, what typically will happen is you'll attract the right people into your world, but you also repel those that are not ideal, and that's perfectly fine. Sometimes, even if you're really solid in what you're doing, you might even attract some haters, and that's cool too. you know, you've just got to persevere through those things and realize if you're attracting any haters, you're probably doing a whole lot of things right. So keep going with
Yeah,
what you're
right.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they keep telling me, right? And
Yeah.
that's why we have to persevere. So I'm gonna take this
Mm,
opportunity now to introduce our topic, which is authenticity in the age of AI. Okay. And
mm,
so we have already, you know, turned the wheel in that direction when we're talking about building these communities and things like that.
mm.
For example, now you, Wes Towers, which I met through Podmatch, which is a beautiful platform.
It
Okay.
is, yeah. Mm,
Yes, yes. And see, this gives me an opportunity to to meet people that are interested in coming on my podcast to begin with. So that's warm right there. So I don't have to go through all the formalities, and everybody there is professional, looking to grow their audience. Okay, to
yeah.
grow your audience is growing your network. It's also growing your business. Okay,
Mm,
future proofing your business with setting up these parameters. Okay, so
yeah.
all of these things are critical. So joining podcast gave me an opportunity to culture and nurture a new a new network of people,
Mm,
professional people, which are also connected in LinkedIn. Okay, so
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
part of the strategy. All right, so not only am I able to network through Podmatch, also connect with you guys on LinkedIn, okay, and to continue to increase and multiply those connections in LinkedIn. And
Mm,
I'm bringing you over to Substack and introducing you to another platform. Okay, so
yeah.
this is a win-win for everybody. It's a win for you. It's a win for me. It's a win for Substack. It's a win for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Our worlds get bigger when we connect and relate to people in a whole bunch of different ways. Obviously, the online platforms are wonderful at doing that. I love face to face as well. I love getting out there and seeing people and meeting and understanding who they are. And as you said, the AI age, I mean, it feels as though a lot of these things are being eroded to some degree. And we need to elevate our humanity again and realize we're humans and we connect on human levels and we're flawed and we're vulnerable and we make mistakes and we have wins and we have challenges and all of these things that make us beautiful beings. So, yeah, I'm excited by where we might end up in the future. It's a challenging time right now for a lot of people, but I think the future can be bright if we make it that way.
Absolutely. So my thought process going to Podmatch is a lot of these things that people write up, it could be AI. I don't even read it. I just say, I'm gonna connect with you on the Zoom call and see if we connect that way. Because I can
Yeah,
tell you anything on a piece of paper that don't really tell me anything. Like
yeah,
for example, a prospective employer. Obviously, then I'm going to do a much deeper dive on your resume to see if how things match up with against the other applicants. Okay, see how you measure up. Uh, on paper,
yeah.
but we know there's shades of gray behind every black and white. Working for the
Mm,
government for 39 years, so I didn't even
yeah.
read your document. Honestly, I wanted to meet with you in a
That's fun.
conversation to see
Yeah,
if we could create some magic between the two of us,
yeah,
which could also turn into bringing value to our audiences, right?
yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's certainly an aspect of business that I didn't really appreciate early on was the value of having an intuition and an understanding of when you meet somebody, and sometimes people will just resonate with you, and you feel good about a scenario, and other times there's something that triggers and you're just not quite sure what it is that's not quite right. And I've learned the hard way oftentimes that I've taken on a client, let's say, and I had an icky feeling and I took them on, and then I found out later why I had that icky feeling. I think you've got to trust your instincts these days, and just have some wisdom around that. And you'll just feel intuitively, I think, who are the right fit for you and your world.
Absolutely. And to do you more justice, okay, because you're not on Substack,
Yeah.
let me give you a proper introduction, okay? Um, Wes Towers here, okay? He is a founder and director of Uplift 360, okay? He is an experienced digital strategist, a web designer, and marketing expert based in Geelong, Victoria, Australia, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
with over 2 decades of professional experience in graphic design, digital media, okay. West specialized in engineering, high performing websites specifically tailored for builders, trades, and industrial brands. And the rest of the information about your personal background and experience, uh, and your thought leadership and speaking, I will definitely include this information in the
Yeah.
article with the video, and I wanted to
Yeah.
focus more on our conversation and
Yeah.
how you
Brilliant.
see how you see your work being impacted by AI.
Yeah, it's changed. It's changed a lot in terms of the practicalities of how we go about, so let's building a website. Let's say the technology is growing and to become more and more sophisticated. So there's less and less of a need of a high-end programming coding kind of scenario. So that's diminishing because things are getting easier. But everybody's got access to the same tools and technology. So I can kind of see that everyone's going to have great um, technology behind them, but what is it that is going to set you apart? What is it that is going to make you stand out in the world? And so for me, moving into more and more of a consulting coaching kind of arena where I'm supporting people to make great decisions. So there's an abundance of good decisions out there. How do you make the great decision? And so that's when you need guidance and advice and someone who's done it before. So, and we're really niched and specific on who we serve. So that makes it a whole lot easier as well, to know how to guide somebody because we've seen, roughly speaking, their scenario before. Everyone's nuanced and different and got their own set of values and convictions and what they want to do. But yeah, we've got a set of understanding that we start, a base of knowledge to start from, which is really important.
Absolutely, because I'm gonna be completely honest with you. A lot of people now are getting rid of their regular sites, websites, and they're going with AI powered,
Mm,
web pages,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and that technology, while it's a little bit clunky still now, it eventually it'll be so great. It's going to do a lot that we've historically done. Having high-end programming knowledge and all of that. It's an interesting world to be a part of, an industry in general. But the way I look at it is the only way to produce wealth, and every business needs to create income, is if you can find a need, a great need, and you can provide great value to that need. Well, wealth just follows providing value. So we're just always on the constant lookout. Where is there a need in the industry, in the people we serve? How do we produce value for them? And then the business side of things take care of itself. So just serve people really, really well. Serve them abundantly, and things will pay off for you in the long run.
We definitely know that, but we also have to pay attention to the trends and
Yeah.
the employment and employment cycles, and see where all of these things are coming. Because I was looking at a
Mm.
business page or something, and they were saying that the remote jobs are starting to pick up more. So I'm like, okay, we need to, you as a marketer, me as a coach, and things like that, we need to see where things are shifting economically,
Yeah.
socially, economically, and how that's impacting our business.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you so wholeheartedly. I think it's the time for the entrepreneurial spirit to rise up and really take this new world forward. I mean, anyone with a creative understanding and spirit will do really well. Even as an employee, you can have an entrepreneurial mindset as an employee and take new ideas to your boss, let's say. And even if he or she doesn't really appreciate the idea, he or she will probably appreciate that you've taken it to them, because what that means is you're considering the company, you're thinking about how things work and what might be improved and enhanced. So those that can sort of perceive the future and potentially figure out new ways of doing things, and bringing that to their world where they're at as an entrepreneurial spirit, even as an employee, I think they're going to do exceptionally well. And even for those that want to step out in their own platform and arena, to have micro businesses that to work solo, through there's so many platforms you can get freelancing work done. And so those that are prepared to take that on as well, it's going to be a real opportunity moving forward. But unfortunately, on the flip side, there are those that there will be job losses, and there'll be challenges and times to overcome. So people need to ready themselves and prepare and think about what their life looks like in the coming months and years, and the future for themselves.
Well, one of the things that you talked about is concerning for me, because looking back in history, I know you live in Australia. No offense, I work with people from all over the world, so this is we're talking about reality here. Okay, being an African American female, okay, and going to give my ideas to somebody, and to trust that they're going to have my best interests at heart.
Mm,
Not in today's world. I'm not going to
mm,
divulge all of this information, and then somebody can take and extract this information and claim it as their own.
yeah,
We
true.
see we
That's an
see that
interesting.
time and time again. So we have to
Yeah.
protect our ideas, okay?
Mm, yeah, yeah. Intellectual property. That's right. And so you'll be curious, and it kind of fits into to what we're saying. But throughout history, things change, and so my grandparents owned a business, and I didn't know till recent times she had some Aboriginal heritage. My grandmother, I called her Nanny, and that was covered up as if it was a bad thing, like her Aboriginal aspect. And so life has changed so much. The other phenomenal thing about that couple, they started businesses. They were starting bakeries, launching bakeries all around our region. They would build one and sell it, build one and sell it, and on it went. My grandmother was the motivating force and the driving force behind that business, but the front man was my grandfather, the Poppy, because that's what the expectation was of the time, that the man would run the business. But realistically, I've learned to discover that she was the motivating force behind the business. So she was a phenomenal businesswoman, despite her circumstances of having Aboriginal heritage, which was frowned upon, and despite being a woman. So these kind of groundbreaking women are powerful people, and it's really difficult to do something you haven't seen before. once you've seen someone do something, it breaks new ground and new opportunities arise. So anyone in those sorts of scenarios, and I applaud your mission and what you're up to. The people that follow, it just makes it so much easier for them because they've seen it before in you and the people you influence. So well done on your work.
Well, thank you, and likewise, and it's just an honor just to meet you and have an opportunity. So, getting hosts is not all. I mean, getting guests is not always easy. Okay,
Mm,
you having a lot of meetings, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. So I'm like, what else can I do instead? Pod match. Okay, boom,
yeah,
and met a new connection. Through Pod Match and LinkedIn and
yeah,
introduce you to Substack as well. So like again, that's a
yeah.
that's a win for everybody, and everybody's enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's so good to have a few people here now, and they'll join in a bit later as well, no doubt. So I can see the little names popping up there. So thanks, hey, thanks for the loves as well. That's brilliant.
Yes, right now I know that graphic design, okay, has also been impacted because I'm gonna be honest with you. I went on Perplexity and made up a logo
Mhm.
for my podcast. Okay, so
Yeah,
this is also impacting, web designers as well. So,
yeah,
graphic designers. So, what do you do instead?
yeah. Well, it is interesting, isn't it? So much of these things you can do yourself with the right tools. You've just got to adjust a little bit in terms of how you go about business and life. And it's an interesting thing. Someone actually provided a logo for we're designing the website, but they provided the logo that they designed themselves. And luckily, they sent it to me and beforehand because they'd used a font that they didn't have the commercial license for. They had the personal license. So all these kind of little things, you just need to be careful when you do things yourself that you cover yourself because there's so many like they didn't even realize that a font can have commercial implications. They could go ahead and buy the font if they wanted to, but that would be costly. But they could just change it to something really closely similar that's freely available. So yeah, just be careful when you're doing some things yourself and with AI and make sure that things are correct as well.
And that's the reason why authenticity is so critical in the age of AI,
Yeah, yeah, for
right?
sure, for sure. Sometimes if we lean upon the tools too much and we trust the tool more than we trust our knowledge and instincts and so on, then it can get things wrong. Sometimes it'll hallucinate if you're having it right content. So if you're not genuinely the thought leader of the information, then you have the potential to write something wrong. There was a horrible law case. I don't know if you heard about it there, but someone had a lawyer had used AI to produce their case, and they'd had scenarios in there, examples that weren't real. They weren't factual. So they just relied upon the tool to create the story, the
Scenario.
examples, the precedents. Yeah, the precedents from other stories which are just not factual. So that was a horrific outcome, obviously, for the people involved, the lawyer, but the client of the lawyer. So these are the dangerous times we live in. You're always going to need to be the thought leader behind the material that you're producing, and you're always going to need a level of understanding and skill to check that it's quality and it's authoritative and it's aligned to what you want to say and do. Have your own voice in the message you share.
Yeah, and that's important across all platforms that your messaging, your branding, coloring, fonts, everything is the same across all platforms.
Yeah, so true. Because oftentimes someone will bump into your brand when they're just browsing. They're not ready to buy anything. They're not ready to engage with you in a deeper level, but they just become aware. And so that awareness, it might take time before they have a need to do something. So if you change your logo or you change everything around every single time, then they're not going to recognize it's the same person. And it goes with your company brand, your logos, and how everything looks and the feel of it, but also your personal brand, how you show up. If if you try to be somebody else, it's hard to stay consistent. But if you're genuinely, authentically you, you show up as you every time, then it will be consistent because it's you. And you evolve. We all evolve a little bit, but it's still you behind the scenes. And we change and adapt a little bit, but the thrust of who we are, our authenticity will remain.
I couldn't agree more. Definitely. Um, so it's all about the presentation. It really is. In the end,
Mm,
people see you the same every time. You building trust and rapport. You have a trusted brand, just like Apple, for
mm,
example.
mm.
It's the same all the time. It's
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
that's right. Trust is the new currency. I really do think it's the value. It's and anything you can do to establish trust is really important. So, for example, if you can get great reviews that can't be easily manipulated and controlled, well, there's a higher level of trust because there's someone else saying something about you or your business or your personal brand, and it's trustworthy because it's not just you speaking about yourself. So testimonials, case studies, showing up. These things are really, really important. Any trust signal that you can build. And when you do work, like we work with a lot of trades, construction people, they're building beautiful things sometimes. Photographs, case studies, showing that on their website can be really helpful because people can see and perceive what that might mean in their own circumstances. They might see a beautiful building, a home, a dream home, and they might go, oh, that's something roughly like what I would like in my scenario. And there's the authority and there's trust because you can see they've done it before, so they likely can do it again. So that's kind of how it works. And I think a lot of the tricky marketing techniques that people were involved in, almost to try and trick people into becoming customers, I think that's going to diminish because the trust is what people are looking for. I think we're changing. You can no longer cheat your way to the top anymore because you will be found out and exposed. You've got to really earn the reputation and authority.
Absolutely, which means we have to come from behind the computer and show people who we are and what we're made of,
Yeah. Warts and
right?
all, I always like to say. So, we're none of us are perfect, and even to show
No.
imperfections, it's kind of like that Japanese art, the pottery where they put the gold in the cracks. So they take what is perceived to be an imperfection and make it the beauty. They put the gold in the cracks. So I think that's exactly how life is meant to be. What are the cracks in me? What are my flaws and failures, and how do I transform them into something beautiful and something that's appreciated and brings value to the world.
And that's what we're all about. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I'm enjoying this. And when you're talking about a brand, one of the brands that come to mind, you probably didn't have them over there, like Sears and Roebuck. That was a trusted name in many homes. You
Yeah.
knew if that part breaks, you could take it back to the store without a receipt, and they'll just give you another one. They don't have
Right.
things like that anymore. It just doesn't
No.
exist. Like
Yeah,
May,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
like
that's the
Maytag.
way. Yeah, you always hear of the older brands that built on their reputation and trust signals, and we somehow moved away from that a little bit, didn't we? And I think
Yes.
we're getting back to that. Yeah, building quality that's substantial and will last the distance. Even the disposable nature of things these days. It feels as though things are deliberately designed to break down after a few years, after they're out of warranty. And that's not the way to build a successful business for the long term, I don't think. I think you got to build things that are reliable and will last the distance. I think the disposable nature of the world, we're growing out of that. It's no good for anything. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the customers. And I think we're moving on.
And the same goes with relationships too. Okay.
Yeah,
More and more people realizing that genuine relationships mean something in today's world because you can turn
yeah,
around and you'll be all by yourself. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Exactly right.
absolutely. So, we utilize AI to make things better, to elevate ourselves uh, intellectually, and also financially, okay?
Mm,
Because we have to employ people at some point. We can't use.
mm,
I wouldn't want to necessarily utilize AI for everything. Okay, repetitive tasks,
yeah,
yes, but it's nothing like working with a human being, another human
yeah,
being. That
yeah,
human connection is everything. Okay, if you
yeah,
talk, you have to look at your shareholders. Okay, your stakeholders. Your the people inside, and your exterior partners, like your delivery people, the people that
yeah.
all these other
Every
people
touch
that
point.
absolutely. So what
Yeah.
kind of relationships are you building with all these individuals? Where do you see your company being 3
Mm,
years, 5 years down the road? Okay, so you want
yeah.
to be partnering with all of these people, okay, and to
Mm,
see if you're heading in the right direction. Okay,
yeah.
common goals
Yeah.
and common interest.
Yeah. Every relationship matters. You're quite right. And sometimes, well, we saw a massive shift here in Australia, and I think it happened a little bit in other places too, in that for a long time it was easy to get staff and team members in, particularly in the trades construction, it was quite easy. So it was almost like they were, in some ways, neglected. But all of a sudden, things started to shift in that there was just not enough workers in the skilled trades and so on. And so all of a sudden, brands started trying to appeal to these people. Well, they've neglected them. Some had neglected them for so long, but others had always been people people first sort of companies. So they already had that established relationship and trust, and they were able to attract the right people and the team members and build from there because they'd was just part of their DNA. And those that were had probably neglected relationships found it hard to get people because they just have a bad reputation in the industries. So you've really got to look after reputation and the things. Sometimes you do things not because of the outcome necessarily, but because they're the right thing to do. If you do the right things because they're the right thing to do, even if there's not an immediate outcome, typically there will be at some stage because it's like planting a seed. You don't see the fruit of it right away, but eventually it'll grow and it'll manifest into something. So do the right things because it's the right thing to do.
You're absolutely right. And it was another thing that they used to call, I think it was social something, that was adapted like 3 or 4 years ago. Each of these companies would donate so much money towards recycling materials or putting, things back
Mm,
into the economy that's going to do good for the overall good for overall people. Okay, I forgot what you
yeah,
call it. And
yeah,
I think we got away from that because more companies and organizations were extracting rather than putting back into the environment.
yeah.
Dumping chemicals and polluting the air. And they was talking about all these data centers that they're going to put up.
Mm,
So now
yeah,
now we're going, instead of putting back into it in positive ways, which a lot of companies are still doing. But look at the ones that are dumping and all these other toxins, everything.
yeah,
And so,
yeah. It needs solid leadership, doesn't it? And that's why
yes,
people like you are
yes.
so important. Do you kind of? I'm curious to hear from you in terms of leadership. Do you feel as though leadership is changing in the way successful leaders go about what they do? It feels to me it's changing somewhat in terms of. It felt like for a long time it was like a dictatorship type kind of leader, but now it's more a relational kind of person that are the best leaders. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they said wherever the head goes, the body gonna follow. Okay, so if you got a toxic leader, that's the direction that the organization is gonna go, because they're only gonna
Yeah,
hire people like themselves. You're only gonna
yeah,
trust people like yourself, and you're really not gonna trust them much either. But if you have to choose between somebody like yourself or somebody like me, you'd rather get somebody like yourself because you're going to think the same way. And I
right.
am not going to go along with your divisiveness. I'm not going along with that. So I'm going to be the first one that you're going to get rid of. And I'm okay with that
Yeah.
because I'm not going to
Yeah.
stay in a toxic environment. And that's why I quit my government job last year because I had enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think government jobs, and I suppose every nation will be a little bit different, but it seems as though there's a commonality with the way in which things operate in large departments, that it's just not how it should be. I don't know what's causing that, but I suppose the larger an entity and organization, the more difficult it is to lead it in a suitable way. It's almost like when it becomes so big that the rogues can find their way in and dismantle how it should be.
Yeah, it's like people gonna ram something down your throat whether you want it or not. No, I don't want it, and I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna reject it. Most people are gonna reject it. You
Mm.
can't ram something down somebody's throat and think they have to accept it. They don't,
Yeah,
and
yeah, 100%.
that's not leadership.
Mm.
That's dictatorship.
Yeah. And how
Okay.
did so when you set out, so you moved on from the government work and then you just went straight to coaching? Is that what?
I've been coaching for a long time,
Yeah,
informally. You know what I'm saying? Because I was never actually allowed to coach within the organization. Okay, heaven
yeah.
forbid that I did anything, was allowed to do anything outside of my job description, anything other
Mm.
than what my supervisor told me to do. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. Okay, and that's why I had to leave that toxic environment because it was keeping me down here.
Mm.
Skills. I have mad skills, but you don't allow me to do what I want to do. I don't
Yeah.
mind doing what you want me to do, but I want to do this too. Oh, but you can't do that. Why not? So they restrict
Yeah.
you in every way they can to keep you small.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that way, when it's time for you to get your evaluation, what have you done? Okay. Well, what did you allow me to do? Okay. You can't have it both ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
rather than to go that way, I became an entrepreneur. Okay. And that's the best
Yeah.
thing that I could have done for myself. Okay. That way
Yeah.
I set my own hours. I work when I want to. When I don't want to work, I don't have to. Okay.
Yeah. It's always a scary though. Well, for me, it felt like a really scary decision to step out and start my own business, because you're almost walking away from the security, a level of perceived security, but realistically, it's not secure.
It's not. It's
Yeah,
just
you don't
in
know
your
what's happened.
mind.
Yeah, yeah. So you can
Right?
be the master of your own destiny and start your own company, and then it's more secure in a whole lot of ways because if you're employed by one employer, like most people are, then if you get fired from all of your work. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have a range of clients. Maybe you have 30 clients. It'll vary according to the business. If someone fires you, well, you've only lost one of your 30 customers and clients. So there's actually more security in running your own business if you think about it in those terms. So it's just a hurdle to get over, I think, in our minds to think about. And there's always a challenge initially because when you're starting out, you've got no clients and no income. You might start with one or two, but you build it up from there. So just stick it out. It'll get to a place where if you build right, you build security into your life and your life purpose and your passion becomes your profit as well.
I truly believe that too, because what you're passionate about, I think that the money will eventually come. Okay.
Mm,
You just have to trust in your abilities, your expertise, and your
mm,
gifts. And just going out there. Cause I didn't have any clients when I decided to quit. Okay.
yeah,
And here I am today. And I don't have any regrets about what I did, because
yeah,
every day you wonder if today is going to be the day that I get the pink slip, okay? Because I said this or I did
yeah,
this,
yeah,
okay? And so that way you're not walking around under this cloud. You know
yeah.
it's going to happen. You just don't know what day it's going to happen. And you know how much
Yeah.
stress and anxiety that you have on you at that time, because that pressure, you got to do this, you got to do this, and they just keep looking for things to to get rid of you anyway. So I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
it's like a course. Just take me and shoot me, put me out of my misery, and then get it over with. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
So yeah, right. And then after that, the hardest thing was not going into the office every day. The routine. Once you like,
Yeah.
I can figure out something else, and I haven't looked back, and I've been so happy. Okay, I've been so
Yeah.
happy. Right.
Yeah, having a routine is really helpful for most of us. And it doesn't have to be super regimented, but some sort of practical routine that you follow that keeps consistency in your life. I've got, I suppose my routines ebb and flow according to what's on in life. And that's the beauty of having your own business, that you can do that. So I've grown in wisdom around a lot of things, and one of the things is I can notice if I'm pushing the envelope too far, and I start to get a sore throat, and I realize, hey, it's time to have a little bit of rest, because if I don't rest now, it's going to be detrimental long term. So, in my younger days, I wouldn't see the signals of that sort of thing, and I would just keep pushing on and make myself sick, and then that's not good for anybody. So you grow in wisdom and maturity, and you feel the life rhythms. There's rhythms to life. There's seasons. There's changes, and you do what you can when you can, and you figure out ways to rest so you're recharged and energized for what's to come.
Yes, I love that thought process. Okay, knowing that I can do my work from any place in the world. I don't have to do
Yeah,
it from this location. That's amazing. Okay.
yeah.
We have so much flexibility as entrepreneurs. Okay.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah. Anywhere, yeah, anywhere that's got an internet connection for me, and probably for you too. As long as there's
Yes.
internet, we can work with our devices. So that's a wonderful thing, and you can travel. You could go overseas and go on holiday, and still be working if you need to and want to. It's a good, yeah. It's beautiful.
I know people on Substack, they take the summer off and they come back in the fall. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have much more flexibility to do what you want. And that gives you a, competitive advantage in many ways. Okay.
Mm. Yeah,
Because,
absolutely. And so even you can relocate if you want to. You can relocate your business to a whole new nation if you want to. Right now in Australia, there's a lot of debate around there's new taxation for businesses and so on. And a lot of Australians start with the startup world, starting new businesses as startups. They feel as though they're getting not a very good break here anymore, and so they're thinking about moving. They might move to New Zealand because that's not far for us. They might move to the States. They might move to Indonesia because that's also not far from us. There's a whole range of things you can do with the flexibility of running your own business.
absolutely. And you can also do partnerships with other companies as well, because
Yeah.
being being a targeting women, what I've done here at Substack is to uh, gather with other women groups. Okay. and
Mm.
uh and so where we can come together because of the situation we're dealing with in the world today. There's no way that any one individual can tackle these problems alone. we need
Yeah.
to we need to create these think tanks, these communities, these go back to our grassroots,
Yeah.
plant medicine. We got our kids, we got the communities. What the things that we can do ourselves. We can't wait for the government to give us anything. Okay, because
No.
there was a time that we couldn't rely on the government. We had to rely on ourselves.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's right. The
right.
and it's so powerful to have affinity groups, people that you relate to on some level. You might have a common interest, common need, common experience relating to those people, and you can elevate each other to a higher level. So you can see other people who maybe have done something slightly to what you want to do, and observe and become, apply some of that to your own way of thinking in life. And if it's in business, you can see how other business operators go about their day to day, and there might be aspects that you can learn and apply. It's just the knowledge and the way of observing in others, what they do, and applying it is a really cool thing. It's like mentorship. I mean, it can be an informal mentorship. A lot of my best mentors, it's not that I've ever had a conversation say, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" It's just that they've become part of my world, and I've observed them, and I've connected with them, and have coffees and so on, and they're my mentors. There's no formal agreement, let's say. There's other scenarios where I will hire people for set roles and to speak into my life. Coaches, consultants, specific things that I might need at any given time. That's also powerful because it's more intentional and deliberate. It's really powerful to have a coach who can hold you accountable to your own values and convictions and what you want to do. You say you're going to do something by a certain date. Well, then you're going to have to meet up with your coach and say if you've done it or not. It's easy to delay what you really want to do if it's just yourself. But if as soon as you've spoken it out to somebody, they'll hold you to account and hold you to a higher level. And that's really where success and breakthrough occurs.
And that's so important, and why community is so important as well, because people can
Mm,
hold you accountable. Yeah, you said you was going to do this by this date. What is the status? Okay, where
yeah.
are we at in this situation? If we hold each other accountable, it's like, oh yeah, I said I was going to do that. Let me get to it. Boom.
Yeah.
We helping each other to rise. Okay, as
Yeah.
these small friendly reminders. And when you talk about mentorship, I think about myself as a child growing up. I wish that I had positive mentorship growing up. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and I think we need more of that in today's world, as all these crises that we're having, and people.
Yeah.
We need to bring people together
Yeah.
instead of fighting among each other for whatever reason.
Mm,
How can we come together? How can we help each other
yeah.
heal? How can we continue having these conversations? Okay,
Yeah.
um, it's really really important.
Yeah. 100%. It's so important. And our childhood experiences will shape how we go about much of what's in our life. I did some work with a psychologist maybe a year ago now, did a number of sessions, and that was brilliant in terms of understanding why why I thought a certain way, and some things were unhelpful and some things were helpful. But to have someone, she was brilliant. She was so good at unpacking and understanding what I was truly trying, what I was thinking in and understanding it in practical terms. As soon as you've got a language to put around something, you can understand it at a better level, and you can sort of make breakthroughs in your life. Um, my dad, you mentioned your childhood. My dad grew up in an orphanage, so he had a horrible setup of life, and so many things he had to learn. He had no idea or concept of how a normal household would run, and so he was my dad, and that's not his fault, but it certainly had an impact on how what my life looked like as a child. And he was a lovely man, and did the best he could. But I know for a fact that I've got two younger siblings. By the time my third sibling came along, he was even better. He was a good father to me too. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he was an even better father by the time my second sibling came along. So we start in a place, and if we're prepared to work on ourselves and grow, we can overcome anything, I think.
You're absolutely right, but we have to be willing to do the inner work. We have to be
Yeah.
willing to do it for
Mm.
ourselves and for our children and future generations,
Yeah.
because everything we do is impacted by how we show up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to someone really interesting. I'm no expert in the field, but they were talking about how generational, she said generational curses, but there can be things that happened many generations ago, and because there's an impact that trails through, you don't know precisely where it comes from, but you know that there's generational aspects. But she was just saying, in a positive way of thinking about that is, whatever you set in a good motion now will impact not only you, but your children and your children's children and your children's children. So it's worth putting in the work, not just for yourself, but for the betterment of your family lineage from this point on. Even the people you'll never meet, generations in future, what we do right now is impacting them. So it's really cool to think that we can have a massive influence on the world for generations for what we break through right now.
Absolutely. Every conversation, every person that comes across your path is influenced by you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's an important thing to remember. Sometimes we just feel so small. I certainly do, so small and so incapable of making an impact. But then I get encouraged by the people, like speaking to you. I get encouraged. Speaking to various people that I meet, I get encouraged. I get challenged sometimes as well for things that, as we said before, yeah, I said I was going to do something and I didn't do it, and someone will say, "Hey, what about that thing you said?" So it's wonderful, and AI is probably never going to give us any of those things. You know, we can quickly just turn off our AI and forget it. But a real person sort of speaking to us and speaking to our lives, we're going to listen to.
Absolutely. Now, Ms. Hughes saying, she said it's a new kind of workforce, a new kind of
Yeah,
workforce. We create our own uh, concept of what that looks like. We're entrepreneurs. Okay, that's a good thing about it. We set the tone of what that looks like, and that's
yeah,
based on my values. Okay.
yeah, yeah. It is really cool, isn't it? A new sort of workforce that it absolutely is. And so, if anyone's sort of thinking about starting a business, Um, I would say start as soon as you can, but start as small as you can. So you don't need to necessarily um, quit your job if you need the income. Of course, you can. I know you're bold enough to do that, but not everyone's bold enough to just quit everything and start. You can possibly do something, start up in the evening. You do a little bit of freelance work and just try and see that you like it and see that it's something that you could expand upon. That's how I started my business. I didn't start without with like with it. I kept my day job for a little while. I probably kept it for maybe 12 months, 18 months, something like that, and then eventually went full time. Once I knew it was working and I could do this and I was enjoying it and I had a passion for it and I was prepared to persevere, because there's always going to be challenges, but I was prepared to work through the challenges.
Well, I'm just gonna say that I didn't quit because I wanted to. Okay, I wanted
Yeah.
to wait to retire this July. I would have had 40 years of service. Okay,
Wow.
but powers to be did not. Uh, it didn't happen because when you have a bunch of people that's coming at you at one time, okay, and
Yeah.
then you have to decide what's more important, your life or the job.
Yeah.
with my
Yeah.
with my life with my life I can make as much money as I want, but if I'm dead I
Yeah.
can't do nothing.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right. My partner's she works in a government role, and it's just it's amazing how disorganized they appear to be.
Yeah.
Um, so even the workplace, like that office she was working from, closed down almost overnight. They said it was going to close down, then overnight it just closed, so she had to travel to work, and they're trying to move the desk and they don't even know where she's going to work from. And it's like, how can people live like that with no security of where they're actually going to show up and work next week? So now she has to travel to a different location, different city next week, because they still haven't figured out where she's going to work from. So but that's just one example. That's just how lots of organizations and large organisation government departments seem to operate. So yeah, well done sticking it out for 40 years. Did you say 40 years? In the nearly 40 years?
Nearly 40 years. Yeah, it would have been in July, but I left September the 30th. Uh,
Right. Yeah.
okay. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. But I look
Yeah.
at how much I have accomplished since then and how much I
Mm,
have learned. Okay. And I could not have learned what I learned if I was still on that job. Okay.
yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's right.
they had implemented a new government system that was eventually going to eliminate my job anyway. So it was just
Right.
a matter of time. Okay. So I got out at a good time. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see that things were changing anyway. So yeah, it worked
Yeah.
out
It
for
did.
you.
It did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm everything I have learned since then, I've added to my resume. And I've had people to reach out to me, ask me if I wanted a job. Okay.
Yeah.
And I look
Yeah.
at it, it's good to have choices. This company asked me, oh, New York, some kind of insurance company. Okay. I'm like, no, I'm not interested in selling no insurance. I'm thinking to myself, no, I'm not interested in that. So it's good to have choices. Okay. That
Yeah.
I don't have to run out there and get a job like that because I have a pension, I have a social security because I worked for it. I earned it. So
Yeah.
why not take it? Okay. While I'm still trying to help people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And way I like to look at challenging times, and it's always difficult to get my mind around this, but to think about things don't happen to me always; they happen for me. So I try to reframe it. This is happening for me. How do I get the benefit out of this thing? Whilst it doesn't feel great right now, what are the learnings? What's the because my life is a long life. And this is just a moment. But what is this moment going to mean for my future? And what how do I shape it so it happens for me as opposed to happening to me? And I'm not the victim, I'm the victor. So I'm going to work through this and figure out a way forward.
And that's where we are today. Okay. I am in perfect, I wouldn't say perfect health, but I feel that I have perfect health and I'm at peace. And that is
Yeah,
priceless. That's worth all the money in the world. You couldn't pay me enough money to give away my peace. Okay.
yeah,
And my health. That's priceless.
yeah. These things are so important, and it's not until we don't have them that we realize. It's kind of like our health. If you if you break your arm, then you're all of a sudden you're aware of your broken arm, but you were never aware of your healthy arm because you just take it for granted. But our health, our bodies, we should remember to recognize that it's valuable. It's far more valuable than anything that we could ever have is our health. And so looking after it. And as business people, sometimes we let that go. I certainly let myself go. I became really overweight for a time there. Just so focused on the business and everything else that life brings up, family and so on, which is all positive things. But I forgot to look after my health. And so I realized at one point, hey, if I keep on this path, it's not going to be good for me long term. So I corrected things. Started going to the gym and started eating healthier and correcting course. And we all need to correct course at different times. It's an ongoing learning and adventure. Life is an adventure.
It is, and you should enjoy it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, every day. And that's why gratitude is so important. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up in my right mind and and reasonable health. I thank God. I'm grateful. I am grateful. Okay. And so
Mm,
everything
mm,
else that happens during the day, it just keeps me on a positive
mm.
flow. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. There's so many things that depends on everyone's temperament, but certainly for me to take some time out in the day to reflect. Some people might do prayer or some people might do meditation or different mechanisms to do these things, but to take time that slows things down a little bit and you can sort of reflect on what's going on and make necessary adjustments as you go. And you don't have to fill in every blank piece of your calendar. You don't have to color in every square in your calendar like we sometimes do. Take a breather. You'll benefit in the long term.
Absolutely. And others will benefit as a result too.
Yeah,
Because we want to leave people where they are or better. We don't want to make it worse. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and I suppose for me, at times I've probably felt like I want too much control in certain circumstances where I have no control. And I heard of a great analogy where there's the muddy water, and every sort of activity you try to do to unmuddy it, it just makes it more muddy because it's just stirring it up more. But sometimes you just need to let things settle. The mud will settle, the water will become pure, and it's just a matter of time. So sometimes I certainly have been agitating the muddy waters when I should have just let it rest and taken a step back and let the time do its work. So I'm learning in that area for sure. So I just keep reminding myself that I look after what I can look after, and that the things I can't control, I just let them go.
Thank you so much for saying that. But sometimes there's times that we need to muddy the water because
Yeah,
people are not listening. They're not paying attention to what we're saying. So we have to muddy the water
yeah,
sometimes to wake people up, put
yeah,
their feet,
absolutely.
hold their feet to the fire. Like, okay, it's time to get up. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You need to stand up, rise up, and this is the art of life, isn't it? There's balance in all things. There's more than one thing is true, most of the time. So there's seasons, there's different things you need to do. There's battles that you need to take on. There's certainly battles in life that you can't avoid. If you avoid them, they just grow to be a beast that becomes bigger and bigger. You need to take on that challenge, and you need to rise up and speak the truth in those circumstances and to break through. You can't let yourself be pushed down and defeated. You can't allow others to and circumstances to defeat you. So this is the art of life, to realize which battles you need to take on wholeheartedly, and which battles are not yours; they're somebody else's.
Oh my God, this is amazing, amazing conversation, Wes. I really want to thank you for this. Does anybody have any questions for Wes or any comments? As you said, most veterans have a justifiable distrust for the government. I can't even comment on that because I agree.
Yeah, you're gonna get us all locked up. No.
I can't be around anybody that I can't trust. Period. If it's an organization or person, then they cannot be in my not a part of my life. Okay. Period.
Yeah,
That's
I
where
can
I'm
see a
that's
great.
where I'm at today.
There's a great quote on there, written. Sometimes you must be a lion to truly enjoy the lamb you really are. Yeah, that's so powerful too, isn't it? We need to be both of those things. I don't know. I mean, everyone has different religious and beliefs, but there's the Bible scripture that speaks of to be as wise as a serpent, but as gentle as a dove. And so that's going to what we were saying before. There's times when you need to be wise like a serpent, but we also need to be gentle as doves as well. And getting that balance in our lives, and knowing which element of ourselves needs to rise to the top and surface at this time. Which part of us do we need to focus on right now? What's the appropriate response to what's happening right now?
How do you determine it for yourself?
Yeah, it's really difficult, isn't it? It's an intuitive process, I think, and so I think I've grown in mature. I think for my life, I felt like the lamb piece, or the gentle aspect of me, was always easy. But I think the wisdom piece, the lion, as was put on the quote there, or the serpent, the wisdom like a serpent. That part of me probably needed to develop, and I'm still maturing and developing in that. So, but it is tricky. It's kind of an intuitive feel that you've got to intuit. and understand what the right thing is at the right time to apply that to your life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. This has been an amazing conversation today. Does
Yeah,
anybody
have
have
fun.
any, yes, any further questions or comments? Um, Wes is not on Substack yet. Okay. We met through
I
my,
am now. Yeah, I am. This is now I'm set up there. So I've got no friends or I think I've got a couple from today. So thank you very much. People have connected with me. So you can do that as if you like.
and I will make sure to connect with you on here as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Brilliant.
got you. And if you have any questions about Substack, you know how to get in contact with me.
Yeah.
I got you.
Brilliant.
I got you. I got you. This has been an amazing conversation. I'm going to make sure to put that information in, and hopefully more people will contact you. Okay. And thank
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
much, Wes. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Margaret.
Thank
It's
you.
been brilliant. It's so good to connect with someone like you. I don't get the chance to speak with people, powerful people like yourself, that often. You're a breath of fresh air, and well done on everything you're doing.
Thank you. And likewise. And thank you all for your time too. All right. You all take care. Bye bye.
Cool.